Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and being a producer of Menstral Massacre as well as Inside Movies Galore, I am David Strege, and welcome to Delusions of Grandeur. Enjoy the reviews. I certainly did.
Okay, Dave, that's it. Screw you and your college flunkies. I've had enough of this from you and from everyone else. I know what you guys are trying to do. Break me down, drive me out of the force. Well, it's going to take a hell of a lot more than a lame prank like this to get Curtis Mooney to throw in his badge, so fuck you! Over.
Did you miss me? I guess not.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Delusions of Grandeur. I'm your host, David Strege, and here I have another review for you. This time it is of Brad Twigg's anthology that he put together. It doesn't really have a wraparound story. It's just kind of straight short films. But I believe the reason why he put this together was because these were short films that were hung up in anthologies, and he just got sick and tired of the companies not releasing them to the public so that they can be seen. So this was his angry moment, he or frustrated moment, so to speak. But it's got artwork by Joe Meredith, which is kind of cool if you want to check that out. The first short film on here is called Roxy Moron, and it is very short, and it involves a young, punkish, metalhead-like couple. They're lazing away. The one guy is talking about a song he just wrote for his love, and while he was in his moment of revelry, some dude bro comes and finds him and tries to tell him about some gig or whatnot, and he's trying to have a romantic moment. I mean, who would want to quit having a romantic moment just to get back to work, you know? And suddenly, a rabid zombie-ish wrestler comes out and kind of massacres the lot. And so the dialogue is actually kind of humorous. The story is just kind of out there, and the gore is definitely on the level of goriness. So I thought the special effects in the film were pretty awesome, and it was just a short comic quickie. Starring Nadia White, Johnny Youngblood, Justin Cave, and Richie Acevedo. Next we have Juan Sanchez directing a short film called Menstral Massacre. And here we have a father bringing in a priest to exorcise his daughter of a demon that possessed her vagina. And the stupidity that happens afterwards. I mean, the priest comes in, exorcises the demon, makes a sexual comment, and puts it in a tool box. And it just so happens that the father evidently is a pimp, because he tells his daughter that she has to get back to work the next morning back at the strip club. And then a little while later, evidently 6 months later, he has his niece, Betsy, played by Nadia White, come and evidently babysit his home. And she has her boyfriend come over, played by Edward Generazio. Edward Generazio plays the boyfriend. And he's like this egomaniac sexual perv who seems to be like all into his like moves and shit. And he's already got a boner. And but he has no protection, so he starts looking around the room, looking in different drawers, and finally he goes over to the tool chest and opens it up, and whatever's in it goes straight into Betsy, and Betsy starts to have the curse, the menstrual curse. And then, of course, she ends up biting his dick off and shoving it down his throat. Wouldn't you like some head, baby? And then, of course, she then goes kind of on a killing spree with her friends and ends up luring her own uncle into having sex. That's pretty much the gist of it. I mean, it's all comical. But the film stars Ophelia Rain, Nadia White, Jesse L. Green, Rick Germain, Edward Generazio, Maggie Hill, Marie Mystique, and of course Marley being himself, which I thought he was the dog. I thought the acting was pretty good. I loved the fact that the daughter in the very beginning, she was talking in that low voice as if she were a demon, and she was like, "Fuck me, daddy, fuck me," that kind of thing. So it was just comical. The whole idea is preposterous, And then of course, the next short film is called Period Blood, and I do believe that this is a short film that kind of goes with that particular short film. Obviously a spin-off, and apparently Betsy, played by Nadia White, is killing a woman in a shower while a man on the toilet is going like, "What the fuck? Why did you do that?" Because evidently he was having an affair with a woman or some shit. But it was short, and it was just kind of comical. And then, of course, that small film starred Nadia White, Lindsay Lockhart, and Jesse L. Green, who was the man on the toilet. And priceless. Jesse L. Green's hair was in pigtails. Of course, here's another film that was directed by Brad Twigg that had something to do with it had something to do with the previous short films. I believe this is the third installment in the Menstral Massacre triptych of films. And it's called Payment Upfront. So this film was built on dialogue description. A farmer sells some pussy locked in a barn to some horny dudes. And the film stars Matthew L. Furman, Daniel K. Johnson, Jesse L. Green, and Nadia White. Basically, he tells them, "Pay me first," and then he goes into kind of a descriptive tale of how he found her on the roadside, and then he took her home and fucked her, and then he realized that he needed to feed her more often because of what she is or what she was, and he ended up selling her to the townsfolk, and that's kind of how they them two dudes ended up there to begin with. Well, he ends up leaving them two alone, and the one dude is kind of like all into it, and she ends up biting him, and he ends up backing into the pitchfork that the farmer accidentally left down there. That's pretty much the story, but it was comical, and the effects were pretty good. I mean, most of it was just the makeup on Nadia. That was just amazing. I mean, at one point in time in one of the short films, she ended up looking like that green harem girl on Star Trek. You know the one dancing for Jim Kirk at the time. But I liked this part of the tale. It's like the demon and the demon kept woman in the barn, you know, and I love the line that Jesse Green has at the end. He's like, and that's why I have them have the payment in full. So, but in any case, I enjoyed the acting involved, at least on Jesse Green's part. And he seems to act a lot in some of these films. In fact, I believe he wasn't in the next one, but he was in the second to last short film on here. So the next short film on here is called Ritual, and it is a very short film of a woman running from a gang of cult members that apparently close in, and well, you can kind of guess what happens. And the film stars Nadia White, again, Daniel K. Johnson, Richie Avocado, and Johnny Youngblood. And of course, they're using music by Toshiyuki Hirioka. And apparently he is a legendary film composer that has been a part of many horror films. So I thought it was okay. I thought it was experimental. It was filmed in black and white. Wouldn't mind seeing maybe a future story involving that short film, just to see what might have been inspired. But having no words in it was a little different for Brad Twigg. And then the second to last short film on the anthology is called Nai Mang Wan, and this one was, I believe, directed by Juan Sanchez, and it basically involves a brother and a sister who apparently enjoy a submissive, dominant sexual relationship when they're interrupted by their dead sadistic father, who intends on punishing them for the continuing of the sexual escapades that evidently, while he was alive, he kind of egged on. And there is a doctor of psychology that kind of uh, spouts his wit in between some of the scenes, and it's a bit comical because, but in a sense, it's kind of like law-abiding justice kind of a thing where the father comes back. He ends up making the son watch what he does, and then of course he makes him into a killing weapon. I thought the special effects were pretty good. The makeup on the dead father, who was actually Jesse L. Green, was pretty awesome. And the fingernails, those were something else. But I kind of liked the voice and the humor that went along with the character. Kind of like that one liner where at the end he's kind of like, by the way, I'm going to go back to hell and go fuck your mother up the ass. So, in any case, hopefully you enjoyed my description of these films. Like and subscribe to my page if you have not. Definitely check this anthology out if you have not. Once again, and just let me know down in the details whether you have seen this anthology or not. I mean, it had a limited run of maybe 50 or so, and I'm glad that I was able to get a copy. And I noticed that on a couple of the short films, he actually thanked me. So, Brad, I thank you for thanking me. In any case, thank you for listening. Have a great day, evening, or morning, wherever you are, and just enjoy the films. I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, this kind of was an anger project, or not an anger project. He wasn't really angry, but he was getting annoyed that these some of these films weren't being distributed. So he decided to fuck them, and you can get away. You can get away independently with distributing your own copy of your film if it's been accepted into a studio to be distributed worldwide. But if they just shelve it, I mean, you can get away with some distribution rights. But in any case, thank you and enjoy. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Delusions of Grandeur. I'm your host, David Streggy, and here I have another review for you. This time coming to us once again from Funky or Fuzzy Monkey Films is Brad Twigg's short film from 2016. On this, as the last story, at least on the anthology of Omnibus of Blood. It's called The House of Profane, and it was the first short film that Brad had sent to me to review at one point in time, and I'm glad that he finally has it on something of an anthology of sorts. So I'm thrilled that I thought that this was one of the better short films that he's ever done. And it begins as a camera pans from a yard to a red brick house. surrounded by bushes as a homeless man, played by Jesse L. Green, opens the door to this apparently abandoned home. An old mattress and various what looks like doors and plaster amongst trash is what he stumbles into. The homeless man just wants to get in from the cold, so he lays down on the mattress when all of a sudden a man wearing a skull for a face looms out from the misty shadows of the room, scaring the hobo, and with apparent psychic kinesis made the hobo's insides spew out through his mouth, including his intestines, as he choked on his own blood. I loved this beginning sequence. Skullface is very detailed, especially in his menacing eyes. Whomever did his makeup did a fantastic job with detail. Now it's night at the same brick house, and Sam is breaking into the house with his friends Sarah, Ann, and Dave. Originally having plans of bowling, these three decide to check out their local hell house. As local townies tell the tale, it began in the 20s with Anthony Hall and his wife. They were in love. So he built the home in hopes they could conceive. Well, they did, one day, using black magic to a horribly deformed boy. His wife dying during the labor process. Heartbroken, Hall spiraled into a state of depression, suffocating his son with a pillow, and hung himself. When police arrived, they were shocked to realize 4 innocent people had been sacrificed in order for the child to be conceived, the parts strewn about the house. In the 50s, another young couple from New York moved in. A few weeks later, they found they were found with their throats slit. They say the house is cursed, built over the 7 gateways of hell. Skullface was the last man to live here. But his mask isn't just a mask. He sewed it onto his face and went around on a killing spree. Nothing supernatural about him. A maniac. Believes there's power in taking their souls. His victims, he does. As the friends hear this tale from Sam and Sarah, Dave seems to know it a bit, but Anne, a newcomer to the group, does creep her out a little bit, especially since they'll be spending the night. Unbeknownst to them, while they explore the house, ghosties and ghoulies are roaming the house. As Sam tries to scare Sarah, he scratches her, and she goes into the bathroom and doesn't come out the same. Will the friends survive the night? The rest of the night? With Skullface lurking around every corner? I think Twigg has found his niche in horror. He's a true king of the slasher film, as he pays homage with his own brand of creepy. I thoroughly enjoyed the storyline. The characters were easy to like, but also easy to hate. Plus, the music held a heavy vibe to the picture. Well done, Brad. Though I liked MILFs versus Zombies and Ghoulish Tales, which I have reviewed before as well, I actually think and feel this short film was better with the atmosphere and acting talent. I'd give this short film a watch if I were you. So I hope that you all get a chance to see this film. I can recommend it for the slasher lovers uh, of you that are out there. The film starred Scott Gaver as Dave, Luba Hansen as Anna, Dallas White as Sam, Kelsey Cooper as Sarah, Jesse L. Green as the hobo, Daniel Johnson as Skullface. Ghosts were played by Erica Jones, Forrest Schultz, Stanley Beachley, Maggie Hill, Matthew Warner, and Edward Calhoun. So thank you for listening. Have a great evening. Hopefully you enjoyed my description of this film. Like and subscribe to my page if you have not, and definitely check the film out on this anthology called Omnibus of Blood. Thank you so much, and enjoy. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Delusions of Grandeur. I'm your host, David Streggy, and here I have another review for you, this time of a Jason Impey short film, filmed in 2013, where it is called Lustful Desires. The film stars Wade Redford and Kaz B as Freddy and evidently the lustful young maiden here. But the story is kind of psycho-ish, at least to me, in a sense, because Freddy is a young man who invites a whore over to his home for some healthy appetites of sexualness and murder. It gets quite rough with Kaz B's character, and definitely does some things that would be of some questionable nature. He throws her against a bed, somewhat chokes her, and treats her rather roughly. And she's about to leave, but you know what? There is something that I like about Kaz B as an actress. For some reason, the way that she speaks, because she's from the UK, I'm actually attracted to that in her as an actress. It's very cute. To me, I felt like I connected with her character, and I felt for her when the final moment came. But you definitely got to see a lot of her naked. You definitely got to see your eyeful. And I've been living with the same woman for the last 12 years, so I'm allowed to appreciate female flesh from a distance. Just no touching. You know what I mean? I did not expect it to entirely go the route that it did. There's this awesome poem that is said, and I guess it somewhat talks about his possible sibling as he's walking through a graveyard after he murders the whore. He comes back, and evidently he wakes up, and he is being called by the skeleton that is sitting downstairs, and you can definitely tell it's his voice, Wade Redford's voice. But evidently it was his first victim, and it might have been his sister. So, seeing that this is more of a dramatic kind of I absolutely loved the role that Wade played for us. I think that he played it down to a T. He really got into the role. I thought the area locations were pretty decent. Seemed like a big house. Seemed like a relatively older graveyard. And I think it was well put together. I was impressed with the way that he was able to make it seem like he was talking to a dead victim. That was pretty cool. And the skeleton actually looked kind of decent too. So I guess with a little necrophilia going on, um, uh, I enjoyed the taunting of it back and forth. So in any case, hopefully you enjoyed my description of this film. Like and subscribe to my page if you have not. Definitely let me know down in the comments section if you have seen this film. Again, this is the first film on the bonus features of Brad Twigg's Omnibus of Blood that was put together in 2018, and so on and so forth. So thank you for listening. Have a great day, evening, or morning, wherever you are. I appreciate your time spent here on the page. And again, let me know down in the comments whether you've seen the film or not. So thank you. Enjoy. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Delusions of Grandeur. I am your host, David Strege, and here I have another review for you, this time of a short film that is part of the bonus features on Brad Twigg's Omnibus of Blood. That was put together in 2018 by, shall I say, Fuzzy Monkey Films. And this particular short film is called Dream Reapers, and it is directed by Dead Broke Productions directors Matty Calhoun and Jeremy Clark. It is about a horror film, or a horror film fan by the name of Dan, and apparently he is obsessed with watching movies. And he's so obsessed with watching movies that he's started to develop some nightmares. His friends tell him so, and they end up catching him one day watching horror films. And they begin to and I can definitely tell that this short film is Nightmare on Elm Street influenced, because they actually begin to play the retro Nintendo game, the infamous piece of shit Nightmare on Elm Street Nintendo game. And Dan falls asleep, and while he falls asleep, his friends and around him, they hear a knock on the door. So the dog barks, they get up and investigate, and a full-on suited werewolf, man in a werewolf costume, accosts one of them, puts a pumpkin on his head, well, whoever stepped out the door first, and proceeds to mutilate him with a pumpkin on his head. And of course you can seriously see him. One moment he's not holding his guts and intestines. The next moment he's holding thing of intestines, no hole in the stomach or anything, but there are intestines there, and he drops them, and he picks them up. I think that was actually a mistake to drop them, because he picked them back up and went, oh. And the next guy he comes across, the dude's like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" Kind of, sort of, and he just knifes him a couple of times, and he's like, ah. And then the third guy, he ends up putting a pumpkin on his head, and this gorilla, this guy, man in a gorilla, full-on gorilla suit, comes out, and I think he's carrying a gun. And they taunt him a little bit, and he screams out something, and they shoot him. And then apparently Dan, while they're out investigating this whole shenanigans, he has to go number 2. So he comes out the bathroom and looks around, and evidently he goes into the barn, and the full-on gorilla-suited man it comes after him with a chainsaw. Not unlike the chainsaw we see in previous Dead Broke productions that they put on to play before the game, called Death Dummies, or Death Dummy, which is actually a real title of a real film that this production company has put together. So, of course, they're going to market it in the film. And then, of course, the gorilla-suited man mutilates Dan, and we realize he is actually asleep. He wakes up, and he goes to the door looking for his friends, and of course, what is standing there? The gorilla-suited man with the head that he had just severed from his body. And that is pretty much the movie. I enjoyed this, even though the special effects were pretty bad, but I believe that they were very bad on purpose, and the screaming of some of the characters were over the top. It did not need to be that over the top for that kind of thing. You have to be able to know how to properly die, and that is not how to properly die. But I enjoyed the film. The film was filmed in 2016. It is in this particular anthology of films by Brad Twigg. It is also in a future 2020 anthology called Frames of Fear 3. And so it gets a little love in 2 separate anthologies. But there it is in a nutshell. And I leave you to viewing the film if you get a chance. You should at least see it at least one time, if not more. I would say that that it is memorable, at least for that it is set so seriously, and yet the deaths are comical enough. So thank you for listening. Have a great day, evening, or morning, wherever you are. I appreciate your time spent here on my page. Thank you so much.
You were good, kid, real good. But as long as I'm around, you'll always be second best, see?